I'll have time to clear.
The way to make government responsible is to hold it accountable. And the way to make government accountable is to make it transparent so that the American people can know exactly what decisions are being made, how they're being made, and whether their interests are being well served. The directives I am giving my administration today on how to interpret the Freedom of Information Act will do just that. For a long time now, there's been too much secrecy in this city. The old rules said that if there was a defensible argument for not disclosing something to the American people, then it should not be disclosed. That era is now over.
Goodness, I barely recognized him. That was our commander-in-chief.
Who was that masked man?
Back in 2009, a masked man that apparently had much darker hair than he does now. And that was him back in 2009 discussing one of the pillars of his presidency, government transparency. Welcome back to the show. I'm Joe Concha, along with Rick Unger, Heather Hansen, and Brad Hirschfield. The president continued to tell America that his administration is the most transparent, in history.
Track record of transparency. I'll make our government open and transparent. We'll do it in a transparent way. I want transparency, I want accountability, so that the American people can be involved in their own government. Let me say it as simply as I can. Transparency and the rule of law will be the touchstones of this presidency. This is the most transparent administration in history.
We need more transparent quotes. That was all problem with that whole soundbite. Anyway, well, something happened since 2009 because the president just broke a very special record. According to a new analysis of federal data by the Associated Press, the Obama administration set a record again for censoring government files or outright denying access to them last year under the U.S. Freedom of Information Act. Here are some of the highlights. In nearly 1 in 3 cases, the White House decided to withhold or censor records were improper under the law. More than 200,000 record requests went unanswered last year. That was up 55% from the previous year. The administration responded to 647,142 requests, a 4% decrease from the previous year. So Heather, the president and his press office continue to defend themselves, saying they are transparent. Do they just think Americans are dumb or not paying attention?
Listen, what they do is they manipulate the data in certain ways to say that in certain ways we are actually more transparent. But the thing is, when they do that, they really do us a disservice. They don't include, for example, the visitor logs, which show who has come to visit the White House. Instead, they go and meet people at townhouses or at cafes nearby. And so in that issue, they have definitely manipulated the data. When it comes to this specific data, they don't count information where they say we just lost that. If they just lost it, then it doesn't count as not having been responsive. The problem with that is that we know with the IRS, there's a lot of stuff that gets lost and then it gets found and then it gets lost again. So there's a lot of, anytime you use statistics, there's ways to manipulate it either way. But I think it's very clear that this White House is one of the least transparent White Houses that we have had.
Brad?
I think it's very simple. They've confused transparency with accessibility. They have done a whole variety of things that on the front end promise and actually sometimes deliver greater accessibility into the documents of government. But in the end, it's no more transparent. If I show you more of a limited view of something, you still have the same limited view. And so I think that's what they did. I'm not judging the intent. But the reality, and it happens a lot in our culture of internet communication, all kinds of other stuff, the promise of greater access does not mean greater insight or transparency. And whether it was done purposefully or not, I think that's where we are with this administration.
Rick, are you surprised there hasn't been more blowback from the press, even though obviously some are friendlier to Democratic administrations, but that we've heard some rumblings from the White House press corps specifically, but not really a big story.
It depends on the issue. Look, one of the problems here is when you make a statement that you're going to be the most transparent in history, can anybody tell me how transparent the Madison presidency was, or if you take the Adams father and son and divide them by 2, were they more or less transparent? So right there, you know, the truth is it's very much a mixed bag. You know, if you're looking for the plus side, I actually brought a chart along, maybe we'll put up, which basically shows that when it comes to classifying data, you see that the administration has been very, very good. They're not originally classifying new data. On the other hand, they have been really on the high end of that scale when it comes to old classified stuff that they reclassify. Heather's right when she talks about the logs. They've gone out of their way not to be transparent with the visitors' logs. So it's really a mixed bag, and I suspect at the end of the day, none of them are more transparent than the others. None of them are less transparent than the others.
I remember in 2008 specifically, it wasn't so much Obama versus McCain, it was Obama versus Bush. In other words, the Bush presidency, they're secretive, they lied about weapons of mass
Well, they were
destruction.
particularly bad on this topic, I got to say, when it comes to transparency. There are others who've been better. Clinton actually was probably better than Obama.
Ironically.
But the Bush administration actually pushed a lot harder for secrecy.
So I think Rick's right. If they didn't aim for that high bar and just say, we'll be more transparent than these guys were, then no one's talking about this
Right,
now.
so that maybe
10
some of
seconds.
it was just being naive, but there's also, I mean, he has pursued more whistleblowers under the Espionage
has.
Act than any of the other administrations
Added up.
combined.
That's
so
true.
there's a problem here.
And he hasn't been very good
And
with
those
the press.
images were
so-
all, he was very young, right? I think he learned on the job. It's harder to deliver when you're in the Oval Office.
That's certainly true. The difference between your 40s and 50s is quite scary, but I don't have to worry about that for decades. Anyway, potluck time next. This is the Daily Wrap, only on Newsmax TV.